Hey, what's going on there, guys? It is Earthmaster, May 28, 2018, 3:40 p.m. here in the Pacific time zone here in California. And going to do a quick rundown of all the activity around the globe, including earthquake activity and the latest volcanic activity there in the big island of Hawaii, where we do have a live screen shot of it over here on the live stream, and also on this update video there, just to the left screen there is a screenshot of the most recent activity there at the Kīlauea volcano in the Big Island. Up above that, we have a live Kīlauea, Hawaii web recorder, which shows real-time earthquake activity. A lot of times when they're having a little explosion or an eruption there at the summit of the crater there, we see that come up here on the web recorder first, as this is live data coming in from the web recorder stations in that region. Also various other stations there around the globe just below that screen. But I wanted to cover earthquake activity up in the state of Washington, a little bit of activity occurring in that region. Let me zoom out so you can see an overview here. We got the western United States region here. Zoom into Washington, you can see the fault system, the Cascadia fold and thrust belt, all that good stuff underneath here, where they're still having a slow slip movement occur. And slow slippage is a not an earthquake activity, but more or less like a the subduction zone underneath. There's two plates sliding slowly between or underneath one another, or one sliding underneath the other, I should say. In this case, you got the Juan de Fuca plate over here, and the North American plate off to the east here, which ultimately creates the Cascadia subduction zone, where we've been seeing that slow slippage occur for a while now. But we're starting to see a little bit of earthquake activity in Washington. I believe that these are just surface type quakes ultimately being applied from the activity that's occurring below this region in the Cascadia subduction zone there. This is not deep earthquake activity, and it's not volcanic activity. I'll show you here in just a second. Let me go back to, in order to see that, we need to go back to the last 7 days, and we'll do all magnitudes in this region here. Okay, so here's the last 7 days, all magnitudes. A little bit of earthquake activity occurring at Mount St Helens region, and that's the volcano right here. Everyone should know of Mount St Helens, pretty popular volcano. I remember when that thing blew, I was just a kid, and my parents were up around this area when that did happen. The biggest earthquake activity is this 3.0, and that's well south of the region. Now, these little micro earthquakes up here at the summit itself is nothing of concern, I believe. It's just some minor activity that's occurring, and it's not even a lot of activity. It's just really small surface type quakes and nothing big. But if you want to take a look at the seismograph station here, this goes back the last 30 days of events here at Mount St Helens. You can catch this web recorder type setup at pnsn.org/volcanoes, and then Mount St Helens there for the view. Like I say, largest in this sequence of earthquakes, 1.2. Nothing big, folks. Not even a lot of activity. Total 132 earthquakes, but these are very small, very minor, and nothing to be concerned about. But I did want to point that out because it is showing up on the USGS site there with that 3.0 that occurred well south of this region. So nothing of concern in there, just a little bit of activity, which I believe is ongoing with the real-time movement underneath here, underneath the Cascadia subduction zone here, this region right here, where you got this plate, the Juan de Fuca plate here, sliding underneath the North American plate. And over the last couple days, we've seen a lot of tremor being detected throughout this region. Today, last 3 hours just shows the majority of this activity and movement, tremor detection up here well to the north of the region that we've been seeing over the last couple days here. This is the last 48 hours, and it looks as though the Seattle activity, where we've seen a large group of activity before, well, within the past week, has subsided, and now the movement is occurring well to the north and well to the south, and once again without any type of activity over here in the middle. And I've always said this right here, and I believe other scientists and other people speculate this is going to be the area where the rupture will occur, just due to the massive strain that's produced over here because of the whole movement of the plates in this region here. We haven't seen a lot of activity release. We haven't seen a lot of tremor detection, which is slow slippage, in this area for quite some time. We're always seeing activity here to the north, even up above Portland, down into Northern California, but never in this area right here, which leads me to believe it's continuing to build pressure and strain in that specific area of the Cascadia subduction zone. Like I say, you got to picture this on a large scale here. If part of the plate is subducting underneath here, underneath the North American plate, on a large scale, which it is, we're not seeing any, we're just seeing a buildup of strain in this area off the coast here in Oregon. That's just kind of scary. But and now we're seeing, like I said, continued activity, tremor up here to the north and down into Northern California in a large amount. Not overwhelmingly large, but definitely eye-opening, and definitely keeping an eye on it. But like I say, last 3 hours has been mostly, well, you can see to the north there, north of Vancouver, in the Vancouver Island region, and also activity continuing into Northern California. So just something to watch. As far as regular earthquake activity in that region, like I say, there's not a whole lot of surface type quakes being detected over here. Sometimes when we do see the movement that's going on a large scale like that, we start seeing some surface quakes. And that there was a couple days ago out there in the Blanco fracture zone. But other than that, just some small activity, small quakes up here off the coast as well. But most of these are older. Looking at the 23rd on that one, and but nothing big. But something to pay attention to whenever we see large movement out there in the Cascadia subduction zone region, and not a release up here in the middle part as well. It's just kind of bowing like a boomerang in my mind. So yeah, we watch this region right here. Switching over to Hawaii real quick, they are continuing to have earthquake activity there. This thing's going to be slow because I have it set at 7 days. Let's go back here a little bit. Still having activity. And the latest data information is in the scroll type effect that I have on the update page and also on the live stream that we're running. This here is just 1 day magnitude 2.5 and above, and 180 earthquakes of 1 day 2.5 and above. I'd say that's a large increase in activity. Most of it still confined right around the summit region, and according to the geologists and the specialists and the professionals, all this earthquake activity is just a sign of the continued magma draining from this area, the summit, the crater, the lava lake region. So just, you're saying it's the ground adjusting to the lack of lava, I guess, according to them. So we'll stick with what they say for now, according to the professionals. Latest earthquake right there, Not latest, but yeah, I guess it is, huh? One of the latest. Where'd it go? 3.3. Pretty shallow right there as well. Shows a 0.2 kilometers. Most of the activity has been right about the surface as far as the depth goes. I am not seeing anything that stands out that would indicate some deeper movement. A couple of these smaller ones showing some 6 kilometer depth, also out there along the East Rift Zone, showing right around 3 kilometers. So a little bit of deeper earthquake activity out there in that region. But let's go over here to, it's just a lot of earthquake activity for one day being 2.5 and above. Let's go ahead and take a look at the one day all magnitudes and see what we got. That is a bunch of earthquakes right there for one day. Anyway, yeah, look at that, 386 earthquakes one day. I'd say that's a whole bunch of earthquakes, folks. Crazy. Anyway, yeah, so 386. Taking a look at the latest status from the USGS Volcano's website here on Kīlauea Volcano. Shows that vigorous eruption of lava continues from the lower East Rift Zone fissure system in the area of the Lani Estates and the Gardens region right there. Overnight, field crews confirmed that the fast-moving flow that broke out at about 7 p.m. Sunday night originated from Fissure 8. The fissure fed a channelized flow that moved north along the margin of the existing flow before turning east and crossing out of the Lani Estates near the intersection of these specific streets right here. So, earthquake activity still occurring, and definitely lava continuing its journey across Hawaii, making some new land. It's like I said, I mentioned it before, this is going to be a long-term situation, and it's just proving to be true. I don't see any sign of it letting up whatsoever, especially with the continued earthquake activity around the summit and the continued lava being poured out of the fissure system in this region here. Volcanic gas emissions remain very high from the fissure's eruptions. If a forecast shift in wind direction occurs today, widespread fog, never heard that, fog, I guess volcanic type fog, may be expected on the island of Hawaii. Magma continues to be supplied to the lower East Rift Zone. Earthquake locations have not moved further down rift in the past few days, and the number of located earthquakes remains low, according to these guys. And that they're talking about the activity that's occurring just over here to the lower East Rift Zone. Not a whole lot of activity. We're not seeing a large increase in that region. At the summit, that's definitely a different story. You know, they're still continuing to see smaller ash explosions. Earthquakes in the summit region continue as the summit area subsides and adjust to the withdrawal of magma. That's what I was talking about just a couple minutes ago. So, you know, these folks here saying all this, almost 400 earthquakes today is just a sign of the ground adjusting to the lack of magma right there at the summit. So still an ongoing thing, just we gotta keep an eye on it, and we'll definitely provide updates and whatnot as they become available. Take a look at the California-Nevada region map. Shows pretty quiet activity once again. Nothing to report whatsoever in that region. Like I say, up north, we still have the continued activity, the real-time tremor occurring in this region here. I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. show you guys something real quick. I want to go back here and set up a timestamp option. Over the past month, let's just go 1 month, and I'll show you the activity that has occurred throughout the region and the lack of activity that has occurred, lack of activity over here off the Oregon region here, off the Central Oregon area. Let's start with, let's just go May 1st to 27th. So roughly about a 1 month range of activity. And we'll set the color versus time here. That way we can see the most recent and the oldest earthquakes there. Most recent earthquake activity obviously in the dark red color, and you can see it up here in Northern California, also up here in Vancouver Island. There's the large, huge cluster that took place right here just west of Seattle. You can see a lot of older earthquakes up there to the north, and it looks as though, you can see the color, right? Yellow goes to orange, then goes to red. Blue, yellow, there's some light blue in there as well. Yellow, orange, red. You can see the time that it's the time frame here. It kind of started up here to the north, and now we're seeing the activity slip down here towards the central part of Washington, but lack of activity in between this large cluster up to the north and the large cluster in the Northern California and parts of Southern Oregon, without any type of major activity as well, like they're having up here in Washington and Northern California. The lack of activity here in Central Oregon and this region right here just doesn't show anything. So picture this, if you can, subducting this, you know, underneath here, this area of land, not the surface, but underneath here is the Cascadia subduction zone region, and it's slipping slowly with this very sensitive equipment. These guys can pick it up, and that's what's going on. There's a lot of activity. 5,138 epicenters according to the pnsn.org website, but not a whole lot of activity, folks, in this region right off the coast, in this area. Just nothing, you know. So there's obviously still a lot of strain being placed in this part of the Cascadia subduction zone. There's a little bit of bluer activity there, nothing big, just some minor activity down near Eugene, Oregon. But other than that, over the past month, some large-scale movement in the tremor detection department up north and down south into Northern California. But repeating myself here once again, lack of activity off the coast into this Oregon region as well. Just concerning. I mean, we're just continuing to see a buildup of strain, and that's, yeah, just a little unnerving. But as always, we will keep you updated. I do have some live data in that region of the world, well, close to it. We do have a station there in Northern California, Mendocino, California station, that would be able to pick up this activity. That's a station right here, Mendocino, on the northwest corner of California. I may add a station just offhand here in a minute of maybe a station up near Oregon, central coast of Oregon, to keep an eye on things as well. But for now, we'll keep these stations as they are, and keep an eye on the Kīlauea volcano region as gas and ash continue to emit out of the summit. Stay safe out there, folks. Once again, happy Memorial Day. Hope everyone's enjoying it. Hopefully you had a day off. Me, nope. I gotta work. I gotta work on Memorial Day, but that's okay. That's, you know, it is what it is. So we'll catch you folks later, and stay safe out there no matter where you're at.